It's like, it's like on the wedding day.
Okay.
This is so funny that I'm covering my eyes.
Ah! It
Okay,
keeps going with nuts.
so let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
Three,
Two,
two,
one,
one.
go. Why? It's
Hey,
Barna.
wow. You look super duper sharp and photorealistic. You
Yeah,
know what's
I
crazy
can
to
I can
me?
almost touch your stubble. Oh, you
Like the
disappeared.
beard, yeah,
Isn't
and
that
the
crazy?
stubble.
So I purposely didn't shave so that my stubble was more like real or like I have a mustache, right? But I didn't shave the rest of my face because I wanted to see how it would do.
This is crazy. Is my ear hairy? Do you see my
Your
ear
hair, your
hairs?
ear is a little hairy. You like, I feel like it makes you look more realistic and a little older. Like you feel more
No,
mature to
this is
me.
this is just how old I am in reality. But
Whoa,
no,
when you turn your head, that's crazy.
this is a major upgrade.
It,
Like this has progressed so much in just 1 year. Oh
wow. Hey,
wow! Hey,
Barna.
how photorealistic is it? Like, could you tell this is not actually a webcam video?
I mean, if I were on my computer, but I'm in my Vision Pro, so you're very big right now, so I can kind of see that it's blurry. But like webcams are
It's
generally
blurry,
pretty
but I
blurry.
mean, webcams are blurry. To me, this is actually very impressive that they are doing such high resolution, basically avatars of ourselves, but it looks really realistic.
You're looking pretty good. Are you been working out or something? Like, there's something different about you.
I've been working on my persona, downloaded a new OS version to upgrade my persona.
Well,
And Dane, I have to say that your high resolution persona was a delight to watch and enjoy. So thank you.
likewise. In lieu of WWDC and this new update to the spatial avatars, we thought, well, why don't we get together and have a spatial hologram chat? We're holograms now, Barna, and I really like this. You and I have been meeting on a weekly basis as holograms for as long as we've had Vision Pros. So now
More than a year now.
yeah, so typically we're not bounded by these 2D boxes, but today we're doing hologram Zoom calls for the sake of this
Hmm.
podcast. I love it.
Yeah, but we're enjoying how this 2D camera is actually chasing us, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of momentum now with WWDC 25 happening, and there's a lot of updates coming to the Apple Vision Pro. And that made me think, as I've been sitting as this hologram, made me think of like where does the AVP stand with the rest of the AR and XR industries? And I kind of just want to touch a bit on like a very brief history of these devices and talk about like what these big companies are working on and what we think about them. Barna, do you remember the Magic Leap? You tried that one a couple of
Uh,
times.
yeah. I never owned one,
Yeah,
but I tried it at festivals, and it was definitely back in the year of, what year was it exactly?
I think it was 2018 when I tried one on for the first time.
Yeah, and so for that year, it was really like a glimpse into the future. It was very impressive.
Mm.
Today, now we're used to that, but it's still impressive.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those weird people, Barna, that owned one of these, as well as a
Yes.
bunch of other ones. And I just need to mention because as you know, I love the Magic Leap because it was like, it wasn't the greatest product of all time, but it was they put a lot of thought into rethinking how this AR spatial computing platform should work. And I remember very vividly how playful the OS was, like the whole, and even the hardware too, was just playful. Like, and they even had their own version of the spatial web, which I think is kind of interesting that Apple's like, now we have spatial web support on the Vision Pro. So I see some of like these confirmations of like, even back then, Magic Leap had come up with some ideas that are going to prove out that the rest of the industry is coming around to. Um,
Yeah.
and then I compare that to the HoloLens, which the hardware was amazing, but the software and the experience sucked. Like it was just 2D windows that didn't work very well. And there's something to be said about the Vision Pro. It's just a bunch of 2D windows, but it works really well. So that's the difference.
Also,
Uh,
there are a couple of features on the Vision Pro that just got better and constantly evolving that are actually very promising compared to what you described with the
hmm.
HoloLens.
We've both tried the Snap spectacles. Both of the versions of those AR spectacles. I kind of feel like those are they have a lot of potential, but they leave me like not super inspired or like I'm not I don't wake up every day wanting to try those. I've tried them a couple times. I have them right now on my desk over here.
Mm,
Um, I like they have a sense of playfulness, and the form factor is really killer too. And
yeah,
it integrates with your phone really well as well. And like the fact that you can wear it outside semi-normally is a big deal.
yeah.
Um,
Well, there are two important points I think to mention with the Snap spectacles. One is that I think from like a very practical point of view, they are relatively cheap, real augmented reality glasses with a
mm,
software lens studio that allows creators to just from scratch within just
mm,
2 hours create something for AR and then immediately deploy it without any kind of complicated technical thing. So
mm,
again, just to like from a very practical point of view, at Stanford, the XR hackathon that is one of the most attended XR hackathons in the world. This past year in 2024, you just suddenly saw a big influx of spectacles and a lot of students who historically only built for VR. Now they suddenly started building for AR. So I think
mm.
it's easy to underestimate the significance of those spectacles, but actually they are really the first uh, real AR glasses that you can just give to students so that they can, start discovering AR as a medium for the first time in an easy way.
You make a good point there that like the ease of like being able to create for that platform is a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity too, but like there is just an easy pathway of like I want to create something in AR, click publish, and
yeah.
it shows up on the glasses immediately.
And another just one point to mention is that Snap just announced that they are coming out with a publicly available uh, new version of the spectacles.
No
It's
way.
gonna be called Specs, and they are partnering up with Niantic Spatial. So they're gonna have this
Wow.
built-in understanding of the world and world anchoring down to centimeter precision, which, as we both know who worked with real world anchoring, it's a huge, huge deal.
Hmm.
So I don't know how Snap makes these updates, but I think they are still very they are they understand very well what makes AR good. And they
Yeah.
are a relatively small company, but I'm always impressed by what they do.
And they've been doing this for a long time and just kind of
Yeah.
been super committed to like they know they believe in the vision of AR and the storytelling and the connections and the promise of this medium and they've to their credit they've just kept doing it.
Yeah.
Wow, I need that's really cool about the public release. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, all right, we got to mention then as well the kind of the big juggernauts are Google has announced within the last half year their project Muhan with that's their collaboration with Samsung
Mm-hmm.
and the headset, Apple Vision Pro competitor. They've announced Android XR, which is a software platform, as well as I actually don't remember the name of those glasses they just demoed, but they have a pair of AR glasses with a little screen in them.
I think this is um I think these are big deals. We've been eagerly waiting for kind of some kind of breakthrough in like XR devices and adoption, and specifically AR. And I think the fact that Google thought it was important enough to A, create an Apple Vision Pro competitor directly,
Mm,
and then B, almost even more importantly, create a standalone operating system, uh,
mm,
Android XR that any manufacturer can from now on use. I think that's a big deal. And you mentioned the AR glasses too. I mean, these are a lot of updates, but the reason why Android XR is important, I think, is because what we're always talking about is what is the use case for even using, wearing an XR device, what we need for mass adoption. And I think one of the most important factors is the operating system, because if the operating system is good, then developers will create uh, actually, uh, you know, unique applications that can only live in XR, that only make sense in
mm,
XR, that are
mm,
specifically developed for an AR glass and not for a computer or phone. And also, I think Android XR, similarly to how the Apple ecosystem works, will create this continuity between devices. So you can, receive a text on your phone, and then the next moment you're just walking on the street with your augmented reality glasses, and you can just dictate the response uh,
mm,
from your glasses. And so that's why I think Android XR is a a more important player than, for example, Meta's Horizon OS, because that will not create this uh, easy transition between all of your devices.
mm,
So
mm.
for Android users, this is huge, and then the rest of them will be covered by Apple users. And
Yeah.
I think right
Well,
now these seem to be the two main
totally. I would even
operating
say that the
systems.
Android XR is a big deal in terms of Apple users as well, because it just kind of adds validation to one, what Apple's doing. It sends huge ripple effects across the entire industry as well, because now we're going to have standardizations across platforms and softwares that we haven't had for the last, what I feel like last decade as we work in this space. And that's been really difficult because the software and even the hardware haven't been fully baked, and it makes it difficult to work, build, create things. But like we don't have to reinvent the wheel anymore, so that's great.
Yeah. And the last addition to this is that Google is doing much better at AI than Apple is.
Mm,
And I think what we're all waiting for with XR operating systems and just generally user experience design is that AI will be somehow organically and seamlessly integrated with it. Like AI, it's going to be an AI-based operating system, which means that it will incorporate what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and it will understand what you're seeing, where you are, what you're looking at. And this is a new phase in computing. You need good computer vision for this, and that's what I think we are expecting from Android XR to do,
mm,
is to do this. I mean, even if you think about the AR glasses that will be run on Android XR, they will see what you see. They will hear what you hear.
mm.
That is something that your phone doesn't do, because your phone sits in your pocket or sits in
Yeah.
your lap, so it will never see the same exact thing you're seeing. So that's why I think this is actually bigger than how it initially might seem.
Wow. So I want to take that a little further actually, because I've been thinking about like the intersection of AR, XR.
Mm,
Well, maybe just call it XR for now for this XR plus this AI stuff. Um, so just to name mention real quick, like Meta's working on, they have their Orion glasses. They're gonna
hmm
have, some form of publicly available glasses by the end of this year, supposedly. they have the Quest headsets. They're, a huge player in this space. Um, but when I look at all these like different players and all their different headsets and glasses, air quotes,
Yeah.
um, I've noticed that like you mentioned, they all have this AI layer that's critical to how these things work. Like the Snapchat spectacles have their own AI, and it's kind of interesting. You can like make it generate images for you while you're running around. It's in the real world. You mentioned the Google one, and then Meta, obviously has their own AI, and then there's Apple with question mark AI. But it
Yeah.
makes me think of like if the form factor is going to be something you wear, something that's interpreting what you're seeing, and then AI is this layer, invisible layer on top of everything. Like, are like if I buy a Google pair of glasses, am I just going to be seeing the world through an Google AI tinted like lens? Like, will these AIs work together in some way, or like, are we always going to be seeing the world just from a specific like tech giant's version of the world?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, all of these technologies are changing how we engage with the world and how we see the world, how we interpret the world. They change what we pay attention to. That's why Meta is so problematic because they make all that money from hijacking our attention still.
Hmm.
As opposed to Apple, where you just pay for a product with money. Uh, Meta makes you pay with your attention, and I think your
Mm,
concern is very valid. What will they do with that power of being this middleman between you and the world? Because their AI will, see everything what you see, hear
yeah.
everything what you hear, and interpret the world for you. So I think there's risk, and I think what you're saying is a real threat potentially, unless we start regulating it. And I'm still hopeful that the European Union will start
Yeah.
regulating with these or regulating these. But
The
but
regulator in chief.
yeah, but I also, that brings up actually an interesting point. I think that I don't think even a year ago when the Apple Vision Pro came out, we would have expected that we thought that the first step in XR devices becoming popular will be definitely the arrival of AR glasses. Like we just need like a good enough high quality pair of AR glasses, and that's what we need for mass adoption and people walking around in these XR glasses, and then or any kind of XR device. And I think Meta showed us that even your Ray-Bans that are screenless smart
Hmm.
AI glasses are actually almost more popular uh,
Hmm.
than than the first version of XR devices. So I think that's
Yeah.
very interesting. How often do you use your Meta Ray-Bans, and what's your experience with that?
I use them daily-ish. Um, and that's for a couple of reasons. Like there's times where I just like forget that I have them on, so I don't always use them for what they do. Um, and then there are times when I use them quite a bit. Like I use the cameras a lot to film my kids or just take pictures of random things or even to take pictures of reminders because you can say, Meta, look at this thing and remind me later about it. And it'll
Mm,
take a picture, it'll read it back to what it saw, and then I can look it up later in my app. And then the other reason why I don't use them as much as I could, I I generally use them quite a bit on a regular basis. But the battery life, like I've had mine for over a year now, and like
yeah.
the battery life at best was 4 hours maybe or something, and now it's just
Okay.
deteriorated. So like when they're on and charged, they have a lot of promise, and it's actually quite convenient just to summon their AI and ask it questions and have it remind me about things. So I'm really looking forward to, well, so this kind of gets to my point about like the AI filter of the world, but also maybe a more like less doomsday question I have is like we're on the cusp of all these features and products coming out into the world, very soon a consumer is going to have a lot of choices. Like what, and so it's like, what do you look for in a pair of AR glasses or in an XR device? Like, what is the thing that like I'm always kind of curious, like if there's like, is it like a matter of having the thing that's like version of the meta ones where it's just like no screen, or is it maybe an AI arms race like that's more important? And that might change between consumer to consumer. Um, but I find at least my answer to that would be like just having struggled with bad software for so long, like
Yeah.
I would probably recommend to a a friend who's asking, like, do the one that has the most like reliable software that doesn't overpromise too much. Like kind of like how you choose a phone nowadays, like like you look at like which one has the really good camera, and like
Yeah.
versus like screen size is usually a thing that people look for.
This is a really good question because recently, I think a month ago, there was this big, thorough, in-depth report that came out from Omdia about
Hmm.
the future, timeline and adoption of XR devices. And it actually surprised me with a pretty gradual and slow mass adoption. It the
Hmm.
the the target date was like 2046. So almost like the next 20 years. And they
Wow.
basically argued that we're gonna still have, these bulky mixed reality devices like the Apple Vision Pro, like the Quest, and then simultaneously the AI glasses, like your Ray-Bans,
Hmm.
and then only in like 2032, so that's still what, 7 years, we're gonna have good quality, lightweight AR glasses, like see-through, like, like the spectacles of Orion, but much better quality. But it will still take them so much time to actually get mm, adopted by masses. And
Hmm.
and I was surprised, but it also made me think that, yeah, I mean, you and I are so enthusiastic about this, and we work with these new technologies and mediums on a daily basis. But right now, there's really no content or application that would lure people
Hmm.
into buying anything. Like, why would they, like, even
Hmm.
like even if you gave these any of these devices for free to someone, would they actually use them on a daily basis? I'm not sure because
Hmm.
they are not professionals and they wouldn't really see the utility. So I
Interesting.
think, so I think we're in this tricky situation where not a lot of people have it. They are still very bulky, too big, too difficult to develop for. Um, so even development is very contained. And so that's why there's no killer app. But because
Hmm.
there's no killer use or killer app, there's no mass adoption and more, no more, not a lot of developers coming in. So
Hmm.
I think this is where we are at right now, and this is why it's actually very hard to answer your question. Like, what
Yeah.
will start this shift? However, this is also a
However,
news.
okay,
This is
okay,
also a
okay.
news from like a couple of days ago. The gossip is that Meta was gonna come out with the Quest 4 and they shelved it. They're not gonna release a Quest 4. Instead, they're gonna release at the end of 2026 an ultra lightweight AR slash MR glasses like
Huh.
the Orion, but much higher quality with an separate puck that does the compute. And they are really saying that that's going to be the device that a lot of people are going to actually purchase. So
Huh.
this is only, 1.5 years from now. Um, so I think, eh, I'm sure it's not going to be still mass adoption, but I still think we are gradually with these Meta Ray bands, the AI only devices, and then better and better screens introduced gradually. We're going to see more and more people using them.
Hmm.
But I think be it's because of the AI. Like the first use case why I need these glasses because it's very convenient that they see what I see and they hear what I hear because then I
Yeah.
can start talking to the AI. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be the main driver first and screens come later. That's my one
Um,
sentence summary.
I think you're right. So, uh, but I also think you're right that like if even if we have these products right now, like if you hand them to, or at least the current available products, if you hand it to someone, like here, I'll give it to you for free. It's not guaranteed that they'll pick it up and use it. It's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
And that's
because right now, like you give someone an Apple Vision Pro and it's fun, but they're not gonna uh, check Instagram on it because it's much easier to check it on your phone.
right. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and yeah, they can watch like one immersive video like each week, but I
Mm,
mean that's a very uh, contained crowd
yeah.
that is interested in that.
Well, I want to, with the last couple of minutes we have, I kind of want to round out this discussion with actually this idea of like the utility of these products because I think you're right with like being able it's the AI seeing and hearing what you're seeing and hearing is a big deal because it's like I would wear AR glasses and that would like if I'm cooking, I love using AI and ChatGPT to help me with recipes, but instead of like clicking on my phone, I'd love to have that just on my face, talking with it and telling and instructing me and guiding me through a recipe, for example. But
Exactly. And I think that's almost like limited, but people are using AI as a therapist now. So of course you
yeah,
just want to like, hey, what do you think of this? I just got this letter.
mm,
What do you think? Like
mm,
I mean, this is scary too, and it has a lot of ethical uh dilemmas, but I think AI is going to be the key to why you need to wear these devices first.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we work in the storytelling space, right? And
Hmm.
so I want to just this is a bigger topic, so we'll just touch on it for right now and round out today's show. But there's so much talk about the utility of these XR devices, and there is amazing utility and applications for these. But I always feel like the storytelling aspects of these devices doesn't get enough light, like it doesn't get enough emphasis. Um, with with where we see these products going currently, like what excites you most about like the storytelling capabilities of these devices?
Um,
I
Thanks
like
for
the
the
heart.
question.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I mean, this is what we live and breathe, right?
Yeah.
Telling stories and this is definitely one of the most meaningful uh applications, yet, as you said, it doesn't get as much limelight as the more technical aspects and productivity aspects. Couple of things. We talk about mass adoption. The good news for us is that we don't actually need mass adoption of like AR glasses to be able to create amazing site-specific augmented reality heritage experiences.
Hmm.
And the museums can buy the really expensive, like $5,000 per device, high quality devices
Hmm.
in 2 years from now, hopefully. And then those will be able to provide like a new media storytelling experience to visitors of those places in such quality and novelty that we've never experienced before. So that makes me excited. And another uh, aspect is that I think finally the tools to create these narrative experiences
Hmm.
are getting better and easier to use. Like one tool you introduced me to is scenery.
I love
Like
scenery so much.
I think scenery is finally a very easy no-code device that you can use to create pretty complex and impressive AR experiences for
Hmm.
not only phones and iPads, but also for the Vision Pro
Yeah,
and the future Apple whatever XR glasses. So this makes me excited because there are not a lot of people who can do spatial stories well. And I think these tools will allow more people to come in and even beginners to start experimenting with this new medium.
totally. Um, I've come up with a term recently, like I've now that like I feel like these XR devices are finally at a point where like the software is mature enough that you can create with them without having to be a full-on software developer. Like you mentioned, scenery. I've been really excited about that platform for the last while because it's allows you just to I think of an idea and I go make it, and then it deploys across all my iOS devices, including my Vision Pro.
Yeah.
It 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 feels so magical. But I've come up with this term recently. Call it multimodal storytelling because I've been enjoying AR experiences as of late where it's not just there's lots of versions of AR storytelling where it's location based, it's 3D models or even holograms or certain types of custom interactions and so on. There's those, but I've also enjoyed like sometimes bringing in 2D images or even 2D video or maybe some form of 3D video as well. And I kind of like this term of multimodal because it just means it's you can tell a story and using different types of media and formats, but it's when you're using an XR like stage, so to speak, you can put those all those different formats in one place and connect them together through some kind of storyline. I don't know if that makes sense, but um, I think
I
it's
think
kind
it does make sense. And I and I do think that you can it's XR is great because you can it's a Gesamtkunstwerk. You can include a lot of different
mm,
artistic uh, disciplines,
yeah,
music, 2D visuals, still images, moving images, 3D 3D models, all kinds of things. It
hmm,
kind of uh, hosts all of those.
yeah,
I'm very, as you know, I'm very opinionated.
yeah,
I'm very opinionated, and and I don't like seeing 2D things in XR.
mm,
I wanna use them in a way that they feel somehow integrated in the 3D environment. So even if it's
mm,
2D, it needs to be somehow like a 2D picture on your wall. That makes sense, but it has to be a picture on your wall. So it's mounted on the 3D world, right?
yeah,
Like it should not just float for me. But
yeah.
this is just my approach, and
We'll
there
have
are
to
definitely multitudes of approaches.
we'll have to dive into your opinions in our next episode, because there's a lot to talk about there. We're just not even scratching the surface.